pages. So I've spent the day sending out Form DB 2536 for requests for all the military bands and as many color guards as I can get.
Do we have a 2 or a 3 shot today or no?
Not today.
Okay.
It just doesn't cooperate. We're live. Can you do your bottle?
This one?
Yes.
To my right or left?
To your left. Mo
better?
Mo better.
Mo better.
But
That's how we start these. There is no real start to these. It's just kind of start.
he just kind of like eased right into
And we just ease right into it.
That's
So,
fine.
Miss Donna Bird,
Yes, my friend.
thank you for being aboard. This is episode 3. This is episode 3 of Chasing Laughter, and hopefully we'll chase a little bit of laughter in this episode. So, I don't know if of all the years that I've known you, which has been 30, right? At least.
At least.
I don't know.
Because we're only 31 years old.
I'm going to be 47 on August 24th at 5:45 a.m.
Well, I got you by
A handful.
a handful.
So what is your maiden name?
Holland.
And you were born in...
I was born in Northern Inyo Hospital here in Bishop, California.
That's awesome. So you're as local as they get.
I am like 5th, 6th generation.
I was just going to ask. The Hollands were pretty deep here.
And the theater that we're sitting next to was built by my grandfather.
You're kidding me.
Nope.
Oh my, wow. That's how deep you go.
Yep.
That is.
And grandmother, I think a couple generations before that, was the first baby born to the cavalry soldiers down in Fort Independence.
Holy cow.
Yeah, we are older than dirt.
You are deeply rooted in the Owens Valley. And that explains a lot of the passion for you, like your passion for our valley. That really does explain a lot of it. I didn't know that.
Yep.
In all these years.
Yep.
So, grade school, high school, Bishop?
Yes.
Yeah. Where was the high school where it is now when you guys were going to school, right?
So the high school was there, but my kindergarten class was held in what's the Civic Auditorium for City Hall.
Right. My mom was telling me that when she went to elementary, it was on my street.
Right.
Right.
And so the kindergarten class, they took that Civic Auditorium and they put up some temporary walls, and we sat on the floor on the cold asphalt, or not asphalt, but the asbestos tiles.
Oh my goodness gracious.
And when it was time for vaccinations and stuff, we all stood in line in the hallway there. And then where that plaza is, there's where the street and stuff is.
Yes.
And then over on the other side of that, along the fence line where those homes are, there used to be a big long school building.
Oh.
That you would be familiar with, and that ended up getting moved over to Elm Street.
Elm Street. Interesting.
And I remember, because I grew up on Elm Street, the 700 block there, and that whole school didn't used to be there. There was a chain across the end of Elm Street, and it was just like this wide open field, and we got to run amok in it.
Sure.
And I remember sitting in my front yard and watching the school building go by on a trap.
Oh my gosh. It's always super impressive how they can move whole buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, hey, look, it was my 1st and 2nd grade class.
That's wild.
And then in 3rd grade, they didn't have enough classrooms. So there were some of us. So you know the layout of the town. So I grew up on the 700 block at Elm Street.
Yes.
I would walk over to the elementary school over on Line Street.
Yes.
They would put us on a bus, and they would drive us to the blue and white church on Main Street. I can't think of
Nazarene, right?
I can't. It's not Methodist, but anyway, that church, the blue and white one there on Main Street.
Yeah.
At the end of Elm Street, right down the street from my house, and we would have classes there. And then at lunchtime, they would bus us back over to the Line Street. We have lunch. Then we get back on a bus and go back to the church. And then I was given permission to actually walk home from there.
Yeah.
And so from walking on the main street and Elm to my home, I got to walk past my grandmother's house, and so I got to stop and visit my nanny every day.
We had Gretchen on last episode, and we were talking about the issues of the school now. So the issues of the school way back then was much worse, because I mean it's not as like nearly as chopped up as it used to be in the past.
Right.
So they had that going for them now.
Right.
We were talking about in a utopian, scenario where a new campus could possibly be located. And to me, it would have to be like up by the college.
Yeah.
There's just a ton of room up there to make something that could last, for generations to come on a, kind of an all-inclusive campus for the, not necessarily high schoolers, but for all of the middle school, kinder through middle.
Right.
They're just growing. That's all it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would say, the biggest issue with that, I mean, if you outgrow your area, then you have to do something. But I just remember how nice it was to get to walk to school.
Oh, yeah.
And,
I was a latchkey kid.
And so,
Yeah.
And I got to go home at lunch in elementary school. They let me walk home.
Yeah, that could never happen today.
No, I mean, I lived 3 houses away, and they're like, yeah, you can go ahead.
So how did you become involved in Mule Days?
Well, I think growing up here, you kind of...
It's always...
It's progressive. It's progressive. So if you're a 4-H'er,
right,
you start by carrying the banners in the parade. And then you get into middle school, and let's say you're in the band or the drill team, and then you march.
Yeah.
And then you get out of school, and it just progresses on through there. But then, you end up having children, and so that cycle starts all over again.
Sure.
And I have walked up and down Main Street so many times as the band chaperone. I think like 4 Mule Days, I walked with every single of the Bishop bands. So we would walk, then I would go back and walk again, and people on the streets were like, what are you doing?
Getting my laps in.
Yeah, so...
So how did, specifically, because what is your role for Mule Days now?
I am the executive director.
That's what I thought. And how did you, when did you, you start working directly for Mule Days?
Well, I got my foot in the pool for...
Hold on. Time out.
It was really hot. You're not.
It feels good, though. Thank you.
Does...
You're okay. Did we lose any? Do we need to go back to anywhere?
Yes, when you go back to walking up and down
Main Street.
Main Street.
I don't know what led to that question. We're just going to... Well,
You get into Mule Days.
yeah.
And the progression was, well, you're here, you do the 4-H parade first.
We'll start with how did you get into Mule Days? This is the magic. This is the magic that happens in these episodes. Right?
That's fine.
So getting involved in Mule Days, right? And your title for Mule Days now is...
Executive director.
That's so awesome. That really is. I'm executive director. So how did you really get involved? As a kid?
Yes. So as growing up here, you get involved with, if you're in 4-H, you march up and down carrying the banners, right? Or you're in the band and you march with the band. And
Did you play an instrument?
I don't.
Oh.
I used to play a guitar and banjo, but I didn't quite fit in with the marching band.
Marching band, yeah.
But I was a flag twirler. And so anyway, then you get out of school and you have children.
Yeah.
Get married and have children. And then that cycle starts again with your children.
Yeah.
And one year I was I think 4 years, I was one of the band chaperones that marched with every single of the bishop. And so, you know, I'm making hot laps up and down Main Street, and people on the sides are like, what the heck are you doing here again? I'm like, hi, I'm just part of the parade.
Give me a bottle of water.
I know, right? So I got involved officially, though,
Yes.
when I put my horse out at Saddle Club. And it used to be that part of the membership requirement for Saddle Club is you had to volunteer at Mule Days.
Okay.
And so, you know, you're doing the stuff like, you know, moving trail courses and opening gates and stuff like that. And then
The unsung heroes of all of our events here, all are
Yes.
volunteers.
yes, oh my
The
goodness. Oh, it would be impossible without that. Absolutely impossible.
God bless all you volunteers.
Heck yeah. So after a few years of that, I was lucky enough to be asked to be part of the main arena crew.
Oh.
And that is so much fun. You know, who doesn't want to be like right in the middle of putting the big shows on?
Yeah.
What we call the big shows.
Yeah.
And so I got invited to be a part of that. And so
And you grew up in like an equestrian environment, right? Just because your family has been so deeply rooted here, like you guys have been cowboys basically forever. So did you grow up with horses?
I did not.
Whoa.
I know, right? So my mom was allergic to everything.
Oh, goodness gracious.
And although we had an acre of land, the Hollands all had each of the Holland siblings had an acre out there on Brockman Lane.
Okay.
And one of them has the family homestead on it. But my parents were smart enough to realize that it would not have been a very wise idea to get a horse that we could keep. You know, my argument was, we have an acre, we have a place to put it, right? And they're like, but somebody has to drive you out there
Yeah.
to check on it. So
Yeah.
I did not actually get my first horse until I was 22 years old. And I had this epiphany, like,
I can get a horse.
I'm all grown up. I can get a horse. I don't have to ask anybody's permission.
Oh, wow.
So that was my first. And then I've had several since.
What was your first horse's name?
Red.
Oh, I love that name. There's a painted horse that when I was at the fairgrounds, Red, he was just an absolute character. Had a blue eye.
Oh, nice.
And when he loved you, he loved you. And when he didn't want to be like around you, he would turn his butt at you. Sometimes he would poop.
Right.
And I was just like,
And you kind of knew right where you said right there.
I was like, all right, we'll see you tomorrow, Red. And I would go there in the morning on my morning lap in the morning, and he would make a noise and come up, and I would scratch him, and he'd be totally cool. And some days he just wasn't into it. Horses are really neat like that.
They are. They're big furry companions. And
I didn't see him for a number of years, and the lore that I had been told was that they will remember your smell, right? And they're like, you can breathe into your hands, and then you like put your hand out. And I did that, and like he was, super standoffish because he's kind of a, not necessarily a wild horse, but he's a very particular horse,
Right.
And I did that, and he smelled, and like he remembered me. It was a really neat connection.
Nice.
Yeah. So mules.
Yes.
Your first experience with mules.
Just working at being a part of Mule Days.
Yeah, they're neat.
They have a lot of personality.
Clay Yeager explained it to me best, that what is the neatest part about Mule Days is like horses, you can train a horse to do just about anything. And they are trained to do that. And they do that because you're making them do that. And it's just what that command, whatever it is. They have intuition, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like as far as what's going on, communicating like almost wirelessly, let's say, to, when they're in action, like whether they're, herding or they're roping or whatever it might be. But mules they have to want to do it.
Yes.
And if they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it. So all the shows that are put on by, at Mule Days, every aspect of what they do on horses, they're doing on mules. And the mules have to choose to want to do that.
Right.
It's just that much neater for me.
Well, and one of the things that they say too, you always hear, stubborn as a mule.
Yes.
A mule will not participate in anything where it does not feel safe.
Right.
And that's why they're better on trails.
Right.
where a horse might allow you to put it in a dangerous situation,
Yes.
which, then you're bad, right? But a mule is going to tell you to go pound sand
No.
and going to not only save his fanny, but your fanny too.
So actual Mule Days parade, was it 1970 was the first one?
Mm-hmm.
Who was the Grand Marshal?
That's a very good question.
When did Ronnie come to become Grand Marshal? That was right in the beginning, wasn't it?
It was. I remember, because I remember being pretty young and seeing and I was probably carrying a banner, a 4-H banner down the road, because I remember looking up and seeing the men up on top of the rooftops.
Yeah.
And I had,
I'll look that up. We'll figure that out.
yeah, I've got a picture of Ronald Reagan riding. He looked quite handsome.
I mean, he's a very dapper individual.
Yeah.
For gosh darn sure.
A fancy saddle in his.
I don't think you can get as far in the political game unless you are, a fairly easy to look at person.
Right.
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 He's easy to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a cool picture.
The significance, the original significance of Mule Days, why it got created was just kind of show, because we were full of pack outfitters, right? So that was kind of like a competition, right? For them, they can come down and like strut why they're mule, right? Is that what the origins of it was?
Kind of. There's another part to it though that's even more important, and it shows how forward thinking those forefathers of Mule Days were.
Do we know their names?
Oh, we had Sam Dean. We had
I will get better at interviews because I should know their names.
well, and this is something that I should know. But you get caught up in what's happening today.
Yeah.
But so the purpose was twofold. So Mule Days happens right before the pack teams are going to scatter off into the backcountry for their season of work, right?
Okay.
And so that's why it's held on that weekend and to honor Memorial Day.
Sure.
But it was a friendly competition, for bragging rights.
Mm-hmm.
So it started out as a 1-day competition. 1 day. And you want to guess how much it cost to rent the fairgrounds for 1 day back then?
2 bits. I don't know. I think that's 25 cents. I'm just kidding. $27.
Little bit more than that.
Okay.
So Bobby Tanner had
I don't know what
the original contract, and the first Mule Days cost $45. And so then the other purpose of Mule Days is that was historically a slow time for tourism.
right.
And so if you're a business owner,
Yes. Tourist-based economy always been.
tourist-based economy,
Yeah.
and especially your businesses are tourism-based.
Yeah.
For the most part.
For the most part.
They have government contracts and they do a lot of construction work and stuff like that. But, you start promoting it and to build tourism.
Yeah.
And so,
1970.
yeah, so, it went from a very low occupancy rate in the hotels to currently, according to the facts that Tawny can pull up with her magic applications and everything, historically now on the Saturday of Mule Days, which we have the parade and the 2 shows, hotel occupancy in the area is 94.2%.
That's huge for us. That's huge.
And so that's not only 94.2% of the hotel rooms, that's also, add on top of that, the campgrounds.
Yeah. All of that.
And you're going to go out to eat.
Right.
And you're going to buy gas.
Yep.
And you're going to shop at the local stores.
Yep.
And so
My store.
the financial impact of Mule Days as an event is huge.
Massive.
Yeah.
Massive. And I think it's still currently the longest non-motorized parade in the United States.
Yes.
That has been something that it's been for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's definitely,
Yeah.
that's wild.
So, I recently discovered a pretty cool thing in back in one of the first place I saw it, I think, was a 1977 collector magazine. And so even back then, we had very simple magazines, nothing like the beautiful glossy things that Jen Rozier creates today. But in the front page, there's a proclamation by the mayor of the city of Bishop proclaiming the week of Memorial Day as officially Mule Days Week.
Oh, I love that.
So
that is it.
So
I mean, it's been here again since 1970, which kind of is strange to me because I was born in 78. So it had only been going on 8 consecutive years when I was born. It was still fairly new.
Right.
And even when I started to remember attending, like 5, 6 years old, it was still fairly new.
Right.
Right. Like 82, 83, 84. That's still fairly new. And it's been going ever since. Hugh Hauser came to a Mule Days.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of my passion of doing this is Hugh Hauser from California. California's go.
Yeah.
I love that dude. The longest non-motorized parade. The growth. There was like a heyday in like the 90s where there was like 20,000 people coming to attend. You know what I mean? The population of Bishop would swell like by 20,000 people on that weekend, which is again huge for all of us here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Well, the number that we officially use is we draw 30,000 attendees.
Yep.
And that's the figure that we use based on hotel occupancy.
30,000.
30,000.
Maybe I'm thinking it was 50 that came in because I remember it was well over expected.
Right. Probably so.
Well.
So because I have seen numbers that are as high as 40, 45,000, but for the most part right now we say 30,000 when I'm applying for grants and putting out information.
And its town just swells. It's really pretty neat to see.
Oh, it is.
It gets bananas down here. Mm-hmm. And there was a time during my 20s where I would just leave. It would just because it was so nutty. Mm-hmm. This was all pre-social media. People were just coming here like without anybody posting about it.
Right. Yeah. Right. Right. Of families, word of mouth. We have families that have been coming now for multiple generations.
Yeah.
And we have grandparents that are now bringing their grandkids to compete, and it's I would say it peaked or was at a peak in the 90s and has dropped off a little bit, partially because the whole equestrian Western lifestyle is changing a little bit. We're not the only event that has felt that impact.
Right.
And Bob Tallman and Steve Kenyon, who travel all over the United States and, announce that the largest equestrian events ever, say that every single equestrian event has taken a bit of a hit.
Well, and then specifically to mules, right? That is a smaller genre of the equestrian lifestyle. There's only a handful of people that really even know what a mule is.
Right. And we're one of the few mule specific events, and we are the largest.
Tom Green, he is a very famous podcaster, comedian. He's a neat guy for the I think without him and what he did for podcasting, he came up with the Tom Green Live show. When radio, he was so restricted on what he could say and do on radio, kind of like when Howard Stern moved to, I think it was like XM radio. He could say what he wants. You can cuss, you can do whatever you want. Right. So Tom started something on the internet called Tom Green Live, and he was like one of the forefathers of this podcasting. And I remember watching it. I subscribed. I would log in on Tuesdays, watch his live show, or just, and he would come up random sometimes, you know what I mean? And so he is huge into mules. He discovered mules, and I want to try to reach out to him, and because if he knew about Mule Days, he would attend. Right. Right. And that would be another huge draw to a whole different crowd of people. You know what I mean? Like Mule Days is a thing. And I really think the transition, there's so much potential in Mule Days just because country is the new cool thing. Right. Beyonce did a country album. The bands that are playing in those large events, you know what I mean? I forget whatever it's called, what everybody attends down in
Right.
The Coachella.
Coachella.
There you go, Coachella. Like it's kind of switching towards country. You know, a lot of kids like the 20, 30 somethings. You know, they do the cowboy boots and the tight jean shorts. The dudes do. It's pretty wild,
Right.
right?
Like,
But like if like those, you know, if those people, if we were able to, you know, let like that generation of people know, it would continue to swell and grow.
yes, I couldn't agree with you more, because one thing we hear a lot is, I'm here at Mule Days. It's been on my bucket list.
Yeah.
All right. So that's wonderful. That's fantastic. You're here, but you got to keep finding new buckets.
Right.
I mean, you hope that they have such a wonderful time when they're here,
Right.
that they'll come back year after year after year. But we need to reach a whole new generation of people,
For sure.
and get the people who do the social media and everything. So you'll get a kick out of this. So I had somebody come in the office the other day, and it's like, do you have a TikTok account? And I'm like, well, not me personally. I'm no. And they're like, Jelly Roll
Oh,
has mules
yeah.
and donkeys. And, I'm going to reach out to Jelly Roll.
There's so many individually like that can come in and shed light on this wonderful event.
Right. So it was funny. So I'm like, okay.
Well, like concerts, right?
Yeah.
Like concerts, I know that with this, kind of being a reset year, right? The new sponsor, like all of those large things that we will talk about are happening. But, we have such a beautiful venue, like right there in the arena, the Sierras, you know what I mean? And I just see the potential for large bands, large groups, large artists coming to perform here.
Well, and along that line, Mike, the interim CEO at the fairgrounds,
And he's just interim, right? He's doing his best.
Oh, he's awesome.
Well, I know that there was a post
Amazing.
I seen online about, I missed the cowboy concerts aren't happening. It's like he's doing his best.
There's a reason.
I'm sure there is.
There's a reason. And so he is amazing. He's been just a godsend to work with, has very open to the community and everything. But, we've had conversations about, okay, going forward for the benefit of Mule Days and the fairgrounds, let's join some forces and, maybe have some joint events and things like that. So, we haven't had time to, really sit down and figure out that in the future, but the interest is there from both sides to work together and maybe have some things like that.
Yeah. I think it's just huge. It can be massive. So what is your favorite event in Mule Days?
Chariot races.
Yes.
I love the chariots.
Yeah.
I got to be careful when I'm in the arena with them so I don't get run over.
Yeah.
But you got to be a little bit off to race a chariot around, because we've expanded the chariot competitions. You can do the straightaway races.
Yeah.
And we do barrel racing, and we do chariot pole bending. Yeah. Crazy stuff. They're fun. So one of the drivers.
Do they do actual racing just out of the gate, that old gate out there?
We do not use the gate.
Okay.
That is defunct.
Oh, okay.
That went away with the parimutuel racing.
Oh.
And so, but one of our drivers, and he's a very serious driver too. It has beautiful wagons and carts, but he has this amazing chariot, and his costume is a black T-shirt. His wife sewed this gold lame cape on it, and he has the big Roman helmet. And so when he's raced around, the cape is flowing. It's great. Yeah. And then last year, one of our chariot drivers had a fake butt sewn on the back of his pants.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
What is it called when they sit on, they're on their mule and they have to they kind of have to hold a position, right? And then they go along a course and I used to set up for it. It's in the smaller arenas.
That would be a trail pattern.
A trail pattern.
Yeah. It's all kinds of different trail patterns. But yeah, it's just
There's so
I
many
don't know.
different things.
There's so many different things. There's coon jumping. There's English. There's dressage.
Right.
There's
What's the difference between English and dressage?
completely different. So English.
You have to wear like a certain outfit. Which one is that?
Well, English has a different set of uniform,
Okay.
than Western events.
Okay.
But English does include flat classes, which it has all the gaits, the walking, trotting, loping. But dressage, you have your ring, and there's very specific points set up,
Yes.
and you have to do certain things, very specific things between like point A and point B, and you're judged on your body position.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's dressage.
Dressage. That one to me is fascinating.
It's such an amazing illustration of teamwork between the animal and the rider.
And the communication, that wireless communication that goes between animal and rider, because you're not really allowed to move very much. Your horse, your mule, I mean, kind of does it for you, which is just bananas.
Right. But you ask, but some of the other things, I mean, we have the beautiful, very serious competitions. We have, we have the roping and the steer stopping and we don't have team pinning, but ranch classes, which are on the rise as far as popularity amongst the equestrian world.
Sure.
The driving, the coaches, and
is that when they're cutting out the cows? Is the driving?
No, the driving is like the wagons.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So, but there's just everything.
Everything.
And then we have those goofy, what we call the fun events. And so in addition to being the executive director, everybody wears multiple hats, And so I am the fun chairman.
Oh, cool.
That's another official title. I'm a fun chairman.
Fun chairman, executive director.
So I get to help organize and create the fun events. And that's the bedroll race, which we brought that back last year by popular demand. And we created the chicken plucking race.
Oh, fun.
And we have big balls in Muletown. And
okay.
So the big balls they're big equestrian exercise balls. Yes. So they're like big beach balls, right? Sure. Yes. But they have we're nice enough to sew handles on them. But so we lob them into the arena down at it would be the east end. And there's what we call the jungle start. Everybody's just lined up. Bell goes off. You run down. You either can get off your mule and grab a ball, or you could, if you're good enough, you can scoop it up, and then you have to run back with it. So you got this ball bouncing around, and the mules are like, "What the hell?"
Oh yeah.
And you get down there, and people are pushing, to get, because there's always enough for everybody, but everybody goes toward one.
The type of people that get attracted, you know what I mean? The mule skinners is a skinner, right? If you're the mules, you're a mule skinner.
Yeah.
I like walking up and down Main Street because my business is on Main Street and just, attending for so many of the years. It's just the greatest people. You know what I mean?
They're very low key, very, very kind.
Yeah.
Very kind. In fact, we talk with, obviously we deal very closely with law enforcement,
of course,
because we have to have security, and they say that, although we're the biggest singular event, they have the least amount of
problems.
Yeah,
I can imagine. I mean, they're just mule folk.
Yeah,
they're just good old. I mean, there was a couple years when I was working there during mule days, and like this guy was from Europe somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And like I believe that same year I talked to like several different people from Australia who came over for mule days.
Yes, because they do have mules in Australia.
Right.
Not many, but the population is increasing over there. But usually we have a fair amount of visitors from Australia, Canada. This year we have reservations from Switzerland.
Oh wow.
And Japan.
Oh wow.
And
I could see how That's really neat.
So yeah, I'm worldwide. And so we do live stream it worldwide. So we do live stream it. And so we can see where we're being viewed. And we are viewed internationally as well as all across the United States. Of course. So it's pretty fun to see.
Those people watching, they need to get to it. Come to a Gosh Darn Mule Day. So you do have a new sponsor this year.
Yes, we are very excited to be able to announce that, like I told you when we were talking earlier, you leave your front door open, good things happen.
Yeah.
Beautiful sunny day. I left the front door open to get the fresh air, and representatives from Anheuser-Busch walked in the door.
That's massive.
And so we are proud to say that we are now that Busch Light is the official beer sponsor of Bishop Mule Days.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's huge.
That's
it's huge. And such nice people. Oh my gosh, I had so much fun. So they came in and said, hey, would you maybe be interested? And it's like, oh my God, yeah. And so they came back a couple days later and we took a tour of the fairgrounds, and they just repeatedly said that, what you stand for is exactly what we want to represent.
Yes.
And so they've come in with a generous sponsorship this year, and with hopes of it growing every year. And they've already, and keep your fingers crossed, everybody, because it would be huge. They've already put in an application for the Clydesdales.
Exactly what I was going to ask you. That's exactly what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, because when they were in my office, I showed them the picture. We have a very large framed picture. And in one year in the parade, there were the Budweiser Clydesdales, the Young Living Percherons, and the 20 Mule Team.
Oh, wow.
And you can tell it's
The
all
Percherons,
the
the black one, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful horses.
Yes, I remember they've been here in the recent past, because I remember them when I worked there.
They have not come in the last, so they were here for the 50th. And they've not been here since 2019.
Okay.
Because the Young Living no longer sponsors them, and that was just a tragedy.
Yeah.
They're just beautiful. I was lucky enough to get to ride the wagon.
Oh my goodness gracious.
So exciting.
Have you been on the 20 Mule Team wagon?
I have.
In it?
Yep.
Is it just like a moving earthquake?
Yes.
Yes. You can feel the impact. It's just so large.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty gosh darn neat.
So, like I said, fingers crossed, they've got us back on the radar for that. And
there has to be massive benefits being associated once again with such a large sponsor.
Oh, yes. So, the first thing they did when they sent the contract over, I'm like, okay, I can do every single one of these right now. Here's our logo. Our logo's going to be out on all their advertising.
Yes.
And so that in and of itself is huge.
Huge.
And so they're also working on bringing an energy drink on as a sponsor too. So, when that happens, I believe I have great faith it'll happen. So that'll be huge too.
That's amazing. Has there been any other sponsors that have came through that is new, maybe surprising?
Well, I tell you what, every day I can keep that door open, I'm keeping that door open. There's good things walk through an open door. So there's a new credit union here in town.
There is.
It's called Desert Valleys
Where is it?
Credit Union. It's over on Line Street where the I'm not quite sure what the old credit union
Oh,
called.
Wasn't this one right over here?
Yeah.
Alta One. There used to be Alta One a long time ago before they moved to the big spot, right?
Right, but
That building.
But right next to the glass shop.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, this Desert Valleys is from Ridgecrest. They acquired this credit union, and there was money to disperse to the community. And so they walked in with a very generous check to us, and they also made a very generous donation to the C5 studios. And so, the beginning of a beautiful relationship was born.
Right.
And the other advantage is, well, right now their brick and mortar is under complete renovation.
Okay.
So they have a mobile unit.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's a mobile branch. And right now it is parked by the fair office.
Okay.
And so the gentleman's name is Eric. He goes, where would be a good place to park my mobile unit?
Yeah.
It's going to be for like 3-4 months.
Yeah.
And so, I looked at my parking lot and went, no, I wouldn't mind you being there, but let's introduce you to Mike at the fair and let's start a relationship there.
Yeah.
And so for the next however many months, their mobile bank is going to be located inside the fairgrounds by the fair office.
Interesting.
And they will remain there for Mule Days, and they will come and go for different events. So, but because there hasn't been ATMs on the ground there for a couple years now.
Oh, wow.
And that's a big thing.
Do they have an ATM in the mobile?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So it's a big Freightliner RV, and there's a teller window and an ATM window.
So the Anheuser-Busch and the Busch Light thing, right? That, I think, tying back into the, just a little bit ago when we were talking about engaging the 20 and 30 somethings, I think that engaging those, the rural aspect, the country aspect that the 20 somethings are gearing towards, and Anheuser-Busch, right? That's going to be engaging in itself right there.
Right. Well, and it just, like I said, just for them to show up. And so the distributors here, they also have a distributorship in Catalina Island, and they're very community oriented. And so they brought this to Mule Days. But the other thing, to as far as the entire community benefiting. So Friends of the Fair is the sole alcohol concessionaire on the fairgrounds.
Correct.
So any alcohol that's sold has to go through them or have their approval. So, hey, Robert, who's the president of the Friends of the Fair board, we have this opportunity, what do you think? And so we all met, and he's like, yes, we will distribute your products because, if we have a big sponsorship and draw a big crowd, then Friends of the Fair makes money, which in turn helps the fairgrounds.
Right.
So it's win, 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 win.
That's so neat. And coming from, not too long ago of the fear of Mule Days going away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were in a pretty rocky financial situation, and there's a timeline that led up to it, and it started with COVID in 2020. When you're halfway into planning your event and you are shut down and you're a once a year event,
right,
it hits pretty hard.
Yeah, money's already spent.
Yeah,
right.
And so we had taken reservations for RVs and tickets, and because we can't put on a show, we had to offer everyone and wanted to offer everyone a refund, and a fair amount of our clientele said, keep the money, pay it forward to next year.
Okay.
And that's how we kept our doors open.
Sure.
And we did have reserves because we'd been plugging along pretty good. But when you have to go basically 2 years on 50% of what you would make in 1 year,
right,
your reserves go away.
Yeah.
And so 21 comes along, and we're like, okay, we've got money from 2020, but then came the social distancing thing.
I was just going to say all of that, the fear that was involved, you know what I mean?
The fear, so ticket sales
can't be there, we all have to be 6 feet apart. How many people are going to be on the main street for this parade? Like all of that.
Well, yeah, and we couldn't, it's just like we can't. I mean, there was people who gave us suggestions, come and tape boxes on Main Street so your family can stand within that, and even in the grandstands.
Yeah.
We had to socially distance people in the grandstands, so we basically really couldn't sell.
You're supposed to pack the grandstands, right? Not every 6 feet there's a person.
Right.
Yeah.
And so one of the other requirements was we had to spray the grandstands after every show with antiseptic.
Right. Yeah.
And so we had to buy a big pressure washer.
Yeah.
So we did get a $10,000 grant to be able to be COVID compliant.
Sure.
But every single dollar of that $10,000 had to be spent on COVID compliancy.
So the bounce back year when everything kind of was back to normal was 2023.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's when, because even 22 people were still struggling financially, and so, and still a little bit of fear.
Right.
But 23 we definitely saw an uptick, and then 24.
Last year.
Mhm.
Last year was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I was right out there. I'll be right out there again.
this year's going to be amazing. It just so many things that we're just like, oh, another challenge. Oh no, and then it turns around, and we weren't going to be able to have the concert and dance because, and this would have been and it will be amazing for the community when it does happen. But the fair got a grant to renovate the heating and air in the Charlie Brown auditorium,
Okay.
which has been horrible for
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Well, as it turned out, it was supposedly supposed to happen during meal day, so that building wasn't at for our use. So we were like, okay, well, okay, we're creative. Where can we have a concert? Where can we have a dance off-site? Which lends itself to a whole different set of issues.
Yes.
And then Mike called one day and he goes, it's going to be available. The contract got pushed back.
Oh, wow. So there's going to be a dance and some bands?
Yes.
Nice. What's the lineup?
So for the concert, we, I will tell you, one of the things we get asked so much every year when we start selling tickets is, who's going to be the concert?
Yeah.
Is Dave Stamey going to be the band? Is Dave Stamey coming back? So Dave Stamey's coming back.
All right. That's awesome.
So Fiddling Pete will open for Dave Stamey at the Thursday night concert.
Oh, man.
And starting Monday, we'll have tickets on sale, and you can buy a VIP table, or there'll be VIP seating or general admission seating. VIP gives you a chance. So the tables give you a guaranteed meet and greet with Dave Stamey.
Okay.
The VIP, there'll be a certain percentage of the VIP tickets that are drawn to be part of the meet and greet, because he can't do a 300 people meet and greet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there'll be a signed guitar that they'll have a chance to win. So the benefit of buying a VIP is not only the opportunity to potentially meet and greet with Dave, but first choice of seating, because usually you buy seat number this and this and that. We just don't have time to do that this year. So you buy a VIP ticket, you get first choice of seating, and then general admission.
There's like so many people that swell there. Is there the potential for having like a larger beer garden or like food truck area for that type of an event? Just to,
Potentially
have more people that aren't really necessarily into mules come down just for that. Like, oh, there's 30 food trucks here from all over California serving different food, or
potentially. We do have all the vendors. The home ec building and the Douglas Robinson are completely packed with vendors.
Right.
And so people come onto the grounds because it's free to come over to the grounds to shop and everything. We have really, really good vendors. But this year, sadly, we all know that, we had a tragic loss with the loss of Bobby Tanner.
Yeah.
So the 20 Mule team will not be rolling this year, but we are working very closely with the Death Valley Conservancy to make sure that happens again in the future.
Sure.
Because we want them to have those beautiful wagons on the move.
Oh, what's that?
However, we are going to have one of the wagons on static display inside the Douglas Robinson.
Oh, cool.
And we're going to have an electronic display going, which shows the videos of the construction of the wagons. It shows them in not only our parade, but back in Washington, D.C. in the Rose Parade. So, wow, the wagon will be there.
R.I.P. Bobby Tanner.
Yep.
Wow.
And I didn't tell you who the dance was.
No.
So, back by popular demand is Justin Lawrence and the Double Average Band.
Justin Lawrence and the Double Average.
Yes.
That's nice, man. I don't know if I'm too familiar with them. We're going to have to get some of their music on there, Jimmy. Cut to some of that music if we can right now. So what else do we have? The kind of touching back on the social media thing. It is everything as far as advertising goes now, right? Is there like a potential in the future for like trying to create more social media drives, like a TikTok and or what else do the kids do? I don't know, Snapchat. I'm a Facebooker. Like I'm old school, right?
Yep.
I still watch Facebook Reels. I'm barely ever on Instagram. I'm just old school like that.
And the Double Average Band.
Tonight We Ride by Justin Lawrence. So Justin Lawrence is going to be the dance, which is on Thursday?
Saturday.
Goodness sakes, Thursday. So what day does Meal Days technically start?
So people start arriving on Sunday.
Right.
The first competition starts on Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
So Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, there's classes and competitions going on in all arenas.
Yeah.
All day long. And then Thursday night is the concert.
Yes.
Friday, there's more competitive action happening through the day. Friday night at 7, that's when we kick off our first big show, first big ticketed show. And then Saturday is just a day of complete insanity because we have the parade.
Yes.
And then we have a 1 o'clock show. And we have a 7 o'clock show. And then we have the dance.
And then the dance.
And then Sunday, we have Cowboy Church in the morning. And then now we've moved. We used to have 2 Sunday shows. And that by then everybody was just dead on their feet. So we combined the 2 shows on Sunday to 4 o'clock. And that is our Veterans Salute.
Oh, neat. And as far as interactive things like the crowd get into, is there interactive events in Meal Days?
So one of our big things is the I Want to Be a Packer program. And that's for the kids. And so they can go, there's different activities at all different days and everything. We have the mule drill team, which are the little stick mules. They can pan for gold. They can fish. We fill up the fish pond. We have the fishing contest.
Yeah.
Rope tying, knot tying. We bring in a big log and they can do the big lumberjack saw. And so there's all kinds of things. That I Want to Be a Packer is really popular.
And that's geared more towards the children?
Yes.
Can you do it if you're like a dude my age?
You might look a little silly. But silly. But what it does is it encourages the parents to take their kids around and everything.
Right.
And then, so the other part of the I Want to Be a Packer is the outreach to the public. So this last week, the kids from the Youth Packers, and also in conjunction with the Backcountry Horsemen, we took 2 mules to the elementary school and did the kids did a live demonstration to the 3rd grade classes.
Epic. That would 100%, if I was in 3rd grade, I'd be like, we have to go to Meal Days.
Well, what was so cool is that Mariah, who led the event, her first question to the kids was, how many of you, by show of hands, have gone to Mule Days? And almost every single kid raised their hands.
Yeah.
And that, makes my heart happy.
Yeah.
But partly that's because of Thursday morning, we put on the school day event for the kids.
Sure.
And we do it on Thursday morning because that's Gymkhana Day. So that includes barrel racing, pole bending. And so kids run those programs or those classes too. And so we invite all the kids from all the schools. They come down from Mammoth. They come up from Lone Pine, Big Pine, everywhere.
Yeah.
And we fill those grandstands with kids. The Clown Does Their Act, our entertainment act gives them a little taste of everything.
Oh, man.
of course, Bob Tallman gets the kids going, and Chuck Lopman plays the music so they can do the wave, and we get their teachers down there doing silly things on the courses.
Yeah, that's huge, right?
And so the kids go to that, but so that was fun seeing how many of the kids have attended. But this year we're doing a big school outreach program. I want Mule Days to be in every single elementary school classroom, whether it's an activity packet, coloring contest.
Just the pure history of it.
Yeah.
Right.
And so
the significance of mules in the foundation of America.
Right.
Right. Like through all of the wars, they're still using mules.
Yes.
It's huge for, what America stands for has been basically on the back of a mule.
Yes. Yeah, it has. So it's important to keep that out there. And I'm lucky enough now that we have a very nice lady who's a retired teacher. And she came in and said, "What can I do to help?" And I said, "How about you be in charge of the school?" And so she already, within the course of a couple weeks, she already arranged that a demonstration, and we've been invited back for next year. So just some really fun, I think, regeneration, renewal of enthusiasm.
It really is, it really is. And like, if you could think of anything to expand and draw more, like get Mule Days known, what do you think could be like new attractions and or partnerships to make that possible?
Well, obviously partnerships as far as sponsorships would be huge.
Well, the social media thing, right? If you put
Yes.
things out on social media, Anheuser-Busch could in turn share those things.
They do. They will.
They will.
They will.
Massive.
Massive. Goodness. I was just on the phone the other day with Steve Kenyon, and he has his program on the Cowboy Channel, and he's like, "What can I do to help?" And I said, advertise.
Oh my!
So
this is such great news.
yeah, it's been
I can see the sparkle in your eye.
Oh, it's just like, the last few years have been so hard.
I was with you on some of those, and I know the stress involved.
Yeah.
Right. I know the scarcity, and now it looks to be turning to abundance, which just is so welcoming.
Yeah, and things build. When bad stuff is happening, that builds, and when good things are happening, that builds. But so yeah, in my conversation with Steve 2 days ago, he's like, "Let's set up an interview, and we'll interview you on the Cowboy Channel."
Yeah.
I said, "Great," but he had an amazing idea. I love this idea. So, part of it is the interaction with the crowd. His job is interaction with the crowd and the contestants, right?
For sure.
So he said, "Let's put together like a 5-question survey and shoot it out to the contestants. What's your favorite memory of Mule Days? When did you start coming?" 5 easy things. And he said he does this at other events. Shoot it out there, go have the answers, go right back to him. And that way, when he's down in the arena, and let's say, James Drools comes out on, to compete in this, and he can say, "Oh, James, your first year in, attending Mule Days was this and this, right?" And it makes it more personable.
I'm willing to bet that I have the picture of attending my first Mule Days in my phone, and I'm 99% sure I look like a baby in this picture. I could have been. It was probably I was born in August, so it would be 1979.
Right.
Right, because I was born in August of 78. I'll show you, and I'll get this picture to you too, Jimmy. It just came up recently, with going through some old photo albums
Right.
and whatnot. But I showed it to my mom. She's like, "Yeah, that's 1979. That's Mule Days is what we were doing there."
That's so funny.
It's me. It's Cheryl Johnston, my uncle Steve. Well, I'll have to get permission from him because he is shirtless.
Oh, no. You're risque.
He was, because he would have been right around 20, 19, 20, 21 years old, right in there, and he's a good looking man, and he's working out. He could be shirtless if he wants to. My Grammy is in that photo,
Oh,
so it was pretty neat. Yeah, so that's all those things. All those beautiful. Is there anything going on as far as sponsorship wise, in the near future that maybe listeners can attend?
we are having a kickoff barbecue out at the Elks Park this Saturday.
This Saturday.
This Saturday
Oh wow.
from 10 to 4.
I don't know if we'll get this out in time, but hopefully some of you that watched attended.
Yeah. And so Mule Days, Amy Cartwright has put together an amazing event, and it's going to be it's just great. So she put together a demonstration by the master chefs to do a the Dutch oven cookie.
Oh goodness.
And so they are going to be preparing the desserts that will be served with a deep pit barbecue
And
lunch.
it's you buy a plate, you buy a ticket.
You buy a ticket.
Okay, and where will those be available?
They are at the Mule Days Museum, or you can go on Ticket Spice.
Ticket Spice?
Yep.
Okay, Ticket Spice.
And
I'm gonna buy mine.
but yeah, deep pit barbecue, packing demonstrations by the youth packers again. She's got live music lined up all day. So it starts at 10, ends at 4. I think the big push will be right from 12 to 3 because that's when food. Town has been amazingly generous as far as items for raffle and auction. So we have some great prizes.
How neat.
Yeah, just fun stuff. We need to stay out in front of the community much more than we have been in the past.
For sure. For sure.
And we're a big party for a week, and then we kind of go quiet, and then we big party. And the term, and my friends, I'm sure they're tired of hearing me say the same thing over and over again, but I think that we've become invisible in plain sight.
I couldn't agree more. Bishop is invisible in plain sight.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's such an amazing little town that just people drive through.
Right. And because this is our 55th year, everybody's, not everybody, but it's kind of I think a common thing that I'm seeing more and more is like, well, it's always been here and it always will be here.
Yeah.
Well, it takes, nothing can flourish unless you feed it and help it grow.
Absolutely. So is the belt buckle design landed?
Oh yeah.
Is there like a release date on that? Are they viewable now?
I have muledays.org, www.muledays.org. You can purchase one.
We'll get that up.
And so I really like the buckle, the bronze buckle this year.
I love them.
So
I've collected them for a long time.
So this year it's a running figure holding a flag, and it's kind of cool because the image is taken from a photo of one of our favorite contestants, Bryce Hathaway. And so he used to have the mule White Trash, who sadly we lost White Trash this year due to old age.
Oh, well.
But his new up and coming white mule is called Cracker. So it's Bryce and Cracker.
Bryce and Cracker coming in.
Yeah.
And even though it looks like Mule Days is just going to be expanding and getting better, we're just going to be sticking to the tradition of Mule Days throughout, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have your core beliefs and your core,
even if larger concerts come, even if dude wagons come, it's still going to be the brass tacks.
Yep.
Mules.
So our heart and soul is to promote and preserve the legacy of the mules that have built America.
Yeah.
Protect our Western lifestyle,
right,
and promote that, and family values. So things evolve because that's how life is. But I think going forward, we have to be very aware of how we grow. Because we started as a one-day event for $45, and we grew into this behemoth of a machine with so many massive cogs. And when I became the director 3 years ago, it dawned on me that this is Mule Days is its own universe. There's all these little planets.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't know what happens on that planet, but I shouldn't make a decision over here on this planet without checking with that one because of the ripple effect.
Right.
But yeah, it's just we need to be careful, economically. But I would like to say thank you to everyone who was very generous with our fundraising campaign. So we put it out there that we would like to raise $100,000. And I'm calling it a win. We're at $94,000.
Oh, right. And this is without the revenue from this coming Saturday's event.
That is correct.
Baby.
That is correct. And, some of that was, so we've had some new income come in. We went to the city and said, look, we need some help. We need some help. We've had some rough years.
Yeah.
And, is there a way that you can help us? And so there was a grant that they allowed us to apply for, and
Aspen is the best.
ongoing expenses grant to the tune of $10,000. The county has this as part of a line item on the budget. So we receive $7,000 annually from them, and then I get to apply for community grants. And so they just very generously provided another $2,500.
Thank goodness.
Um,
Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Yes, and just the generosity from people across the United States that, we had our QR code, and I can see because I send out the tax donation letters. And so everybody who donated got a tax deduction letter because we are a 501c3 public benefit charity.
Sure.
So I got to see where all these people from all over the United States and locally.
That's such a great way to donate to an amazing event and get a tax write-off.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So, yeah, we had some very generous people. So thank you to everyone. Thank you for the city for jumping in, and thank you to the county and, the local businesses, and just every mom and pop that, there was $5 donations and $5,000 donations. And so it was very heartwarming.
So what is your personal vision for Mule Day's future as of this moment?
I would like us to, first and foremost, continue on with what we started to be. And that's, what I just said, promoting the legacy of the mule, promoting the Western lifestyle, helping the Bishop economy. Because not only, it's the hotels, the stores, the grocery stores, but we support over a dozen youth organizations. Obviously we can't do everything ourselves as far as putting things together. So we bring on board Bishop track team, Bishop football team, Bishop baseball team, basketball team, Mammoth football team.
A lot of people don't realize who cleaned the grandstands early in the morning.
Yep.
Right? And when I was there, it was the girls' volleyball.
Yep.
Like,
well, now it's a football.
Yeah, the boys, I think the boys came a couple times too. You're right.
The track team has come on board with doing the banners and things like that. So over a dozen youth organizations directly are supported by Mule Days to the tune of about $30,000.
Oh, wow.
Amongst all of them. That is vitally important. It is vitally important that we remain, prosperous so that we can give back to the community, which is what we were founded to do.
Yeah.
What we were founded to do. So, it's keeping things fresh, because one thing we hear a lot is, well, I went once. Well,
it can be said, if you've seen one Mule Days, you've seen them all.
Right?
Yeah.
But, I think the more you go or the more involved you are, it gets in your soul.
Sure. It'd be hard to do everything.
Yeah.
Right.
In
1 year.
Right. And so, and you get to know the people.
Yeah.
You get to know the people, and look, they're back. And
just the interest of like the jelly roll subject. You know what I mean? That getting those people to come here would just bring so many more potential people who would fall in love with what mules and mule days represent.
right.
Yeah.
And they would experience, the warmth of the people.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like Bishop is like infamous for the visitors being like, everybody here's so nice.
Right. Right. So, I want everybody to come and experience that, because that's the spirit of Bishop.
Right.
Look at where we live. To come here, there's people who come here just because of the amazing scenery.
Huge.
And there's Mike, our contestants are like, everyone in your town is so nice.
Yeah.
And, this is where we feel like home when we're not at home.
So true. Throughout all of this, oh man, this interview's made me so happy.
Good.
Bishop Mule Days is not going anywhere.
No, we're not. We're coming back strong. We have great acts, fun acts this year. Ryder and Bethany are coming back. Felix Santana and his dancing horse, Majestic Romano. But the spirit of Mule Days that has taken kind of a beating the last few years is coming back full strength.
Full strength.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So it's going to, what we say in the office is, we're not in it for this year. We're in it for the next 55 years.
Absolutely. 55th year coming up. Donna Bird, I thank you for your time today.
Well, thanks for having me.
I'm so excited. This is beautiful.
Me too. I have to say the last couple of years have been rough. I just feel like this whole new energy.
I see the sparkle.
Yeah.
Sparkle's back.
And hopefully it's infectious.
It absolutely is. I can feel your aura sitting right here next to you. And Donna Bird, thank you for being with us and Chasing Laughter. It's a wrap. Yo.